Hi, this is Sarah Rockwell of www.spiritualcoachingforyou.com and www.howcanidistress.com. Today our topic is the spaces of our lives, the landscape. As I talked to you last week about trees, I'm having some logging done on my property. And what I've noticed during the week as the loggers have come and gone, cut trees, the landscape is changing. But it's a metaphor for how and what our landscape is in our lives. Because I look out at the acreage that has been logged and is being logged, I see changes daily. But when I go inside my house and look around my house, the landscape is very similar because you don't tend to change a lot, and sometimes it's for comfort. But you just don't seem to change things inside maybe your house as much or notice that it's such a change as when trees are coming down and being taken away. So this week I thought that we would look at what and how many landscapes there are in our lives, because we have an inner environment, which is our mind, our physical, and our spiritual. And there's a landscape to that. Is it organized? Is it cluttered? Are we always having mind chatter in our minds? Or is it a peaceful place where we can retreat? Perhaps during meditation, perhaps during prayer. Well, for some people, only during their sleeping hours, because their mind talks constantly to them. And then there's a physical environment around us where we live. And what does that look like? For some people, it's highly structured. For others, it's not as structured and it's more comfortable. Or people are more comfortable in an environment that has a lot of flexibility in it. A lot of soft chairs, maybe a favorite chair, maybe a room where you exercise. There are mats thrown on the floor. Or perhaps you have a living room that's only used when company comes, and it's dusted every day. It's dusted whenever you clean or your house is clean, but it's a room that's not really used. And then there's the environment, our yards. But the landscape even goes further than that, because as trees are to a forest, people are in our lives. So we have a landscape of relationships in our lives. We have close friends or just casual friends. We have business relationships. We have social relationships depending on the organizations that we're in. But it's all part of our landscape. So this week, this is sort of a short lesson, but I just want you to look at the landscapes of your life. And look at them like you're looking at a forest. You know, what are the small trees in your landscape? What are the larger ones? What makes you feel open and airy and expands your space? And what landscapes are in your life that really oppress you, that really perhaps depress you because they're contracted? So that's what I'd like you to journal on this week, is the landscapes of your life. And if you go on vacation during this week, take a time to not only journal about the landscape in your current life where you live most of your life during the year, but when you go on vacation, compare that landscape to the landscape that you live in. And are there changes that you want to create, or things that you want to alter a little bit, because your vacation landscape maybe makes you feel different than your own physical or internal landscape. So metaphorically, let's just look at the landscapes of our lives, journal on them, and then come back next week for the next lesson. But take time with this. Just add a little bit every day. And what you'll see as I look out, for example, at my trees, they're very crowded together. The land hadn't been logged probably since the 1940s or 50s. And now it's being logged, but there are still majestic trees that are being left. There are trees that will grow, and I can appreciate their individual differences and how they look now, whereas when they were in a clump next to each other, each tree didn't get my attention. It was more like it was a blanket or a protection or an area that didn't really invite me to walk, because we're talking about 69 acres here. So I have never walked all the boundaries of this parcel of land that my husband and his friend bought in the early 80s. He had when he was alive, and his friend had, and the forester had, but I never had. So I'm looking forward to, after all the logging is done, walking all the lines and really appreciating what the land is and what it means to me, and then watching the growth. This is a seed year, and that's one of the reasons why we cut this year, is because the pines, and some people love pines, some people don't love pines, but at least the forest will be reseeded with some pines, which will give it a great look, and it will be great for the natural habitat, because there are deer, we know there are coyotes, we've seen fox, question fishers. Years ago we saw a moose. I'm sure there's skunks, raccoons, porcupines, but so it'll be really interesting, and we have wild turkeys, so it'll be really interesting to see how the land gives back to the animals and how the animals give back to the land, and how when more light comes in, how beautiful the 69 acres will be in the future. So I appreciate your being with me, here with me today, and really take time to journal about your landscape, because it's when we look at the spaces in our lives and that we decide to leave them alone, to change them, to alter them, to create new spaces, that we really become more productive, more loving, more expansive, more embracing of not only our lives, but those in our lives and the world. Until next week, this is Sarah Rockwell of www.spiritualcoachingforyou.com and www.howcanidistress.com, and you can reach me at either of those websites. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye-bye.